many of you would agree that one of the struggles of life is God's timing and God's purpose? Come on, somebody. Some of y'all been saved for about 5 years and still are struggling with God's timing and God's purpose. We make decisions on a day-to-day basis on a word that God gives us. But how many of you know that just because God gives you a word doesn't mean that the timing is right in that moment? Because how many of you know that we will remove ourselves from purpose in order for us to satisfy what our preferences are in timing? We all want to be blessed. We all want to experience the healing of God. We all want to see the promise come to pass right now. But the problem is with that is that it's not always going to happen in our timing. How many of you know what I'm talking about today? Because if you ever ask something from God, you know what I'm talking about today. There's different positions that we can find ourselves in that we can feel in a place of wait. Because if I am in a position where I am on top of the world and I'm having a good old time and my company is just right, a year can feel like one day. But when I'm finding myself in the gates of hell and the kitchen is getting hotter and the rain begins to pour, a year, a day can feel like a year. So the way that we spend time will determine the experience that comes out of the wait. Come on, somebody. How many of you agreeing today? Change will happen. You may be in the toughest days of your life, but see, that's where that word actually is a good thing. Because if you're having the toughest days of your life, guess what? There's one thing that's certain for you. It's going to change. It's talking about the certainty of change. Now, if you are progressing in the things of God, you are growing. That's kind of like how marriage works, right? We can either grow together or we can grow apart. But either way, there is growth that is going to happen. You have the choice of which one you want to be on the side of. The problem is, growing together is much harder than growing apart. Because if I want to grow apart from her, all I got to do is disconnect myself from her. We don't go on dates no more. I don't do family things. I work. Come on, somebody. She goes to church. I stay home. You see, those are all red flags. Come on, somebody. Those are red flags, because if there's a disconnect in a portion of your life with the person that you love, that is God telling you that something has to change. Some of us today are different in different ways. I see supernatural growth in this place. How many of you would agree? You have grown exponentially in your life. God has done so much in your life. Man, that's the kind of church that I want to be a part of. Come on, somebody. We alter our jackets because they no longer fit. They're a little snug, right? And so we go to the person that does the altering so we can get that thing to fit again. And we do that for a specific purpose. But I want you to know the purposes of God. When God alters your life, ultimately you may not understand it, but it's ultimately for his divine purpose for your life. But God will not only bless you by what he gives to you, God will also bless you by what he takes away. So our perspective in moments will ultimately determine whether or not the change in your season is temporary or permanent. Come on, somebody.